In 2009, Africa's most populous nation experienced the first episode of a blood-thirsty war that would decimate over 20,000 people, set back her development, threaten the security of the West African region, and last for nearly a decade. It was a war against terrorism. 2018 marks the 9th year of the Boko Haram Insurgency in Nigeria. On January 2nd, 2018, the leader of a Boko Haram faction, led by Abubakar Shekau, released a video detailing their terrorist activities in Nigeria in the past year. This was contrary to statements from President Muhammadu Buhari a day before, which assured that Nigeria had beaten Boko Haram.
I must reassure my fellow citizens that security of life and property is still top of our government's agenda. We have since beaten Boko Haram. Isolated attacks still occur, but even the best policed countries cannot prevent determined criminals from committing terrible acts of terror, as we have seen during the first years in Europe, Asia, Middle East, elsewhere in Africa and America. Our government remains determined to protect all Nigerians in line with our election pledge and promises.
On February 19, 2018, Boko Haram executed an audacious plan. Insurgents marched into Government Girls Science and Technology College in Dapchi Yobe State, northeast Nigeria, and kidnapped 110 schoolgirls aged 11 to 19. The brazen incident was reminiscent of the April 2014 abduction of 276 schoolgirls in Chibok, Borno State. But the girls would not last long with the abductors. After spending 28 days in captivity, the Nigerian government struck a deal with the terrorists and negotiated their release. But only 104 of them were returned on March 21, 2018. 5 died in transit, while one, Leah Sharibu, was not released by the sect for refusing to renounce her Christian faith.
The federal government, with the aid of some very friendly countries, embarked on back-channel negotiations. These back-channel negotiations has led to the release of these girls.
While Boko Haram continued to terrorize the country with suicide bombers, another security challenge was brewing. Farmers and herders in the country began a crisis over grazing land, inflaming tensions in the north central of the country and displacing hundreds. An Amnesty International report disclosed that 3,641 people were killed between January 2016 and October 2018, 57% of them in 2018 alone, as a result of the crisis. The Nigerian government and the military became embroiled in a two-front conflict: the Boko Haram insurgency and the herders-farmers clashes. Residents of Borno, Yobe, Zamfara, Benue, Plateau, Edo, Nasarawa and Taraba states were worst affected.
Pure military engagements cannot provide sustainable solution to these new threats given the nature of their complexity and root causes, particularly as noted by distinguished military strategists. Therefore, the starting point for realizing the above requires the military to have an excellent understanding of how asymmetric security challenges and conflict mutate from later stage to violence.
On a solemn night on April 21st, 3 soldiers and 2 members of the Civilian Joint Task Force lost their lives in a shootout with Boko Haram terrorists. Brigadier General Texas Chukwu, then Director of Army Public Relations, confirmed the incident, noting that 3 members of the Boko Haram terrorists were neutralized in the April 21st attack. A month later, in May, the Nigerian Army announced that it had rescued over 1,000 Boko Haram hostages in different parts of Borno State. In June, not less than 130 people were killed in 11 separate attacks in northeast Nigeria. Boko Haram would later change strategy, focusing more on military targets. On July 15, 2018, the Boko Haram faction, led by Abu Musab al-Banawi, calling itself the Islamic State in West Africa Province, ISWAP, overran a Nigerian army base in the northeastern part of the country. The terrorists and the army exchanged gunfire for over an hour, and many Nigerian soldiers went missing after that attack. A United Nations report released in August noted that Nigeria's cash economy was fueling Boko Haram's activities in Nigeria and the Lake Chad Basin region. The report also alleged that the Nigerian government paid ransom to Boko Haram for the release of the Dapchi schoolgirls. The government denied the claims. In September 2018, the Nigerian military recorded major victories. Troops of Operation Lafia Doli rescued a combined number of 127 hostages in 2 separate operations, killing some terrorists in the process. But the fourth quarter of 2018 was the toughest period yet for the Nigerian military. On October 16, 2018, Boko Haram audaciously murdered Hawa Liman on camera. Hawa was a 24-year-old aid worker and a staff of the International Committee of the Red Cross who was volunteering to help the displaced in the northeast. Her murder sparked international outrage.
Protection of such people that want to sacrifice their life, want to volunteer service in troubled areas must be followed, and government security agencies working in all those areas must know that it is key and necessary to protect such persons. And wherever those persons are held in while they are giving service must be adequately protected.
In December, Baga became the latest town to come into the limelight, and not for the right reasons. For 3 days since December 26th, Boko Haram terrorists battled with the Nigerian army for control of the fishing town in Borno State. And despite speculations that the terrorists gained the upper hand, the army in a statement noted that Boko Haram lost Baga and many of their members. 2018 was radically different from the 8 years before it in terms of security. It's difficult to tell what 2019 holds, but it doesn't look like the Boko Haram insurgency will be completely wiped off anytime soon. Aneta Felix, TV 360, Lagos.